can we have an impact, which is always so fun to see. So, without further ado, Isaac.
When you look at this slide, what's the first thing you notice?
White.
White.
Boring.
Boring, exactly. Now, when you look around the school, you see much of the same. It's no secret that when we moved, this space has been quite barren for a while. And when I decided that my project was going to be on architecture, I kind of took it upon myself to try to help and design this space and get it at least going somewhere. But before we get all to that, what is architecture? Well, as defined by Britannica, architecture is the art and technique of designing and building, as distinguished from the skills associated with construction. The practice of architecture is employed to fulfill both practical and expressive requirements, and thus it serves both utilitarian and aesthetic ends. Basically, architecture is both artistic and useful. I can't remember the term. But architecture without, or it's both useful and decorative, artistic. Now, architects are the ones who make architecture. This is Bill, all right? Bill is an architect. When he meets with his clients, it's his job to take what the clients ask him and make it grounded of sorts so that the client is happy but gets an actual functional product. Now you may be wondering, how do you design architecture? Well, you have to start with the principles of architecture. Well, I'm glad that you asked, little child. Now, when it comes to design principles, there's a lot of design principles, especially with architecture. First, with design principles, there's line, direction, proportion, texture, color and value, shape and form. Oh, I know this. I gotta grab my notes. Line, we'll start with line, where artistic expression starts. The direction of design is how lines and other elements of design combine to create a natural sense of movement in the building. Wait, that's direction. Whatever. Lines are important as that is your beginning point. Direction is where you take those lines and where you want to go with those lines. Say you have a building and you want it to be decorative. Well, you want your lines to be, you want certain lines to pop out and certain lines not to, so that the natural eye movement goes to the parts of the building that you want to. Texture is also important, as it can also help give the feeling of a building. A good example of all of these is brutalist architecture. Looking at brutalist architecture, you can tell where the lines are. You can tell the direction of it. Usually have a big base and usually thin at the top. But also, looking at this structure, you already know what the texture is. You know what it feels like just by looking at it, and that's where texture comes in. The texture of a building can give off the sense of feeling whatever material you use. With concrete, it gives off cold, it gives off harsh, hence brutalist architecture. Then there's architecture design principles. There is emphasis, axis, symmetry, Asymmetry, balance. Datum, one of those two. Space, movement, rhythm, scale, unity, contrast, and material. I was not kidding when I said there's a lot. There's still more after this. Now, symmetry, we'll focus on symmetry and asymmetry because that's a little bit confusing. Why are they both there? Well, symmetry is important as it can help invite people into a space. Humans like symmetrical things. It's not really a secret. But asymmetry is also important as used in the right way can create different emotions while still being inviting. It's important with symmetry and asymmetry as examples. Balance in a building is important to have, as if a building doesn't feel balanced, then no one's gonna like it. Now, the other weird one on there, datum, is a line, shape, or form that anchors all of the forms or elements of the design in one space. The datum acts as a foundation and must be significant enough to support all these forms and elements. Essentially, it's kind of the thing that ties everything together. So take like a plaza, for example. A plaza can be a datum sometimes with the buildings around it. It's the central point, it's kind of the foundation, it's the reason why those buildings are there. That's what supports those buildings. Then there's unity. Unity is a more complex principle. The harmony created by the rational balance between the built environment and the natural order. This could be an anchored concept related to functional goals, or visual component, or aesthetic purposes. Essentially, unity is important for every single principle. Being able to unify these principles together to make one whole structure, whether it's mix match or all equal or whatever, vice versa. Once again, Brutalist architecture uses a lot of these things, especially stuff like material and contrast and asymmetry, especially asymmetry. Then there's decision-making principles of architecture. This is more tied to architects and how to go about designing a building. There's bend the rules, building for environment, integrating technology, focus on solving the problems, sketch your concepts, repurpose, combine the old and new, and appropriateness. Now, bending the rules shouldn't be a surprise. Architecture is an art form, and that is the whole point of art. It is to bend the rules, but not bend them to a point where they break down and just become a jumbled mess. You have to be able to balance those out. Building for environment is also very important, especially nowadays. We, quite frankly, don't do it enough, and especially in Wisconsin, the amount of modern architecture that I have seen that does not belong in Wisconsin because of weather alone drives me nuts. Great example of it would be shipment homes. Shipment homes are really good for coastal warm areas, but for places like Wisconsin where it snows, they're not a great idea because they're not built to handle snow. Also, not to mention the amount of space that gets taken up by the insulation to keep that building warm, it's really not worth it. Then there's integrating technology. Of course, that's self-explanatory. Focus on solving the problem. That is also another thing that architects should be focusing on, and cities too. Cities, communities, architecture, all should be focusing on solving issues. Now, of course, that isn't to say we don't do that, but we'll get onto that in a bit. Sketch your concepts, which we'll touch in like a couple of minutes. Repurpose, which is essentially try to repurpose as much as you can, whether it's from other buildings or the building itself. and combining the new with the old. That could whether that is, once again, using old pieces of architecture, old interior design pieces, or using old techniques with new techniques. Now, maybe wondering, what do architects use for design? Well, there's a multitude of different platforms that architects use nowadays. There's Rhino, there's Revit, SketchUp, and ArcCAD. But for my project, I used Revit for pretty much the whole entire thing. Revit is not complex, but not easy to master, especially when you're trying to learn it by yourself. Take me, for example. It is difficult, but not impossible. Thank you, child. Now the next part of this presentation, oh, never mind, I'm off my mark. So now this is where I started for my project process, or my project creation. So this is the current layout of the school. Looking at it, you can kind of already guess what one of the biggest issues with this space is, and that is it's an office space, not a school. So there's a lot of rooms, too many rooms. A lot of these rooms are not being used or not being used to their fullest extent. Like the science room, it is super cramped in there and we cannot do anything with a cramped science room. So my first step was trying to figure out which walls to get rid of and how to unify the space, which led me to this. So we have a lot of these rooms would be more open, which is great, especially for rooms like the Fortness Advisory and Lukey Advisory, which love to get superheated during the sunny days. But a lot of the rooms, especially over there, are going to be unified to make bigger spaces. This will be really useful for advisories as they are very cramped right now. So now, after I had figured out this new floor plan, I had decided to figure out which rooms would be what and kind of create a layout of sorts. So on the very far left, we have the advisory space, or spaces over there with a workspace in between. The workspace is there as we don't really have a lot of community workspaces that we can all work together in. So we need more of those, and so that's why that's there. It's currently taking up the Oasis space and Lego room and storage room. Then in the center here, we have this space behind me, which would be the makerspace / pottery area. And then the computer / makerspace for all the printing stuff will be kind of open. And then the Bush Advisory will become the science room / advisory room like it used to be. And then over here, we have the music rooms will be next to each other. The library will be bigger and the health room will be up front because it's awkward where it is right now, just having people walk by. But, oh, I forgot. For the Fortness Advisory, this is one of the spaces that I designed in Revit. And I forgot to put the image up there, but that's all right. You can kind of get the gist of it from here. Now, for the Fortness Advisory, I spent a lot of time talking with the community and talking with my advisory about the space. What do they want? What do we need in the future? One of the biggest things that kept coming up was the seating. The seating in our advisory room is not the most comfortable, and so I still have benches in this design, but for future use, we plan on putting new chairs in there. I kind of did this process with the Kozlowski Advisory. I talked to Miss Kay, and we kind of got a general idea of what she was envisioning for her space. And I had planned to do this for the other advisories, but of course, with trying to take one room at a time, in combination with Revit being fun, I didn't have enough time. But that leads us into the activity. Now, now my activity is quite simple. I want you guys to get a feel for what it's like to be an architect, what it's like trying to sketch something out in a short span or short amount of time while trying to include everything that clients want. So around the school, I have different stations. I have Fornis Advisory, I have the Workspace, Keselowski Advisory, Music Room, Bush Advisory, which is 5, Makerspace, which is right here, Lutke Advisory, which is over there, and then this space, the center area, which is number 8. So once I tell you guys to go, each group, which will, we have more than the benches, so try to be in 8 groups. There will be each group will spend 2 minutes at each site, and once you do that, or once you get there, I will ring a bell, and once I do that, that's when you start sketching. And then when I ring it again, there will be sticky notes up front that you can take, and if you have any input that you would like to put on one of the big pieces of paper at each site, you can do that in the last minute. Otherwise, when I ring it for a 3rd time, that's when you go to the next station. So when I say go, you can come up and grab sticky notes and then head to one of the sites. Sound good?
Can I talk about the needs page?
Oh yeah, right, thank you. The needs page, so each section has a needs page. Make sure you read that page. That page is important. It tells you what the room will be in the future and what has to be in your design. Try to sketch it out to the best of your ability. I'm not expecting a masterclass work, but any input will be nice. And then once you're finished with that, give your papers to me and I will collect them and they will be used for future planning. Okay, ready?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to dismiss like by, are you assigning us to what?
How do we want to do this? Do we just want to send each group to for each bench? Yeah? Okay. This bench, you will go to number 1, which is over there. You are gonna need paper.
Okay, I will find a piece of paper.
Oh,
Thanks.
there we go. Okay. Now, this bench, you will go to number 2.
What's that again?
The workspace, which is right over there, right at the Lego room.
Got it.
You guys, and you, go to group or site number 3. Geez, there's a lot of you right there. You guys will go to number 4, which is at the music room / health room. Okay, let's see. We'll do you 3. I think 3 benches or 2. We'll just do you 2 first. You 2 go to number 5, which is in the Bush Advisory. Yeah. Use your journals to draw. Okay, and then Aiden and Maple and the rest of you, I guess, you can go to number 6, which is just right around the corner. And then let's do right around the corner to number 6. And then the back half, the right side half, you are going to 7, and then the left half, you are staying right here. Sound good?
All right.
Okay. I need a bell.
Sorry.
not feel like
Can I grab it?
I am. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Whatever.
Nathan's sleeping. I'm confused. Nathan's taking
Huh? My right. So the right side was going to 7. The left side of this room was going to. Okay. You may now begin. Go. Draw, if you haven't already started.
Wait, I think if we were in this bench right here.
Yeah. I think that was group 5 was with Bishop. How's it going? Good. Yeah. How you doing? You guys joining in on the activity?
Take down all the buildings and have honestly, like, if we could get rid of specific pillars, for example, that pillar, or because it's just so annoying. We have to make this a space problem. Yeah. Basically, I think it's good for this right now. It's pretty good right now.
I'm curious to hear what you would think about the maker space being all open. Do you guys want to have some people? What do you think about that?
I don't really know, because I bet we can get rid of all of them. We'd have to shift this one back so slightly. This, like, that pillar right there needs to be all like, that's what the center is kind of like, so I think that. Like, those two we could get rid of, but also, I kind of. I think just.
Yeah. What do you think this space should be? You guys want to come up there and?
So then this is turns with this still not.
It would be, I think actually those first 2 rooms would be taken out, so it would be pushed back. So it'd be a little bit. Well, that idea, you should go put it on number 8.
I don't think you understand.
That is
Where are we
really,
going next?
wouldn't that be cool? There was a stage.
Alright. So what we have here,
Two larger benches for the all.
many little boxes. What do you little box?
Oh, I made that.
Like put cushions and then fabric and then staple the fabric around it. Cause then they want to shift. I think that's why people don't use the cushion. 'Cause
Yeah. Roughly.
oh, this is new.
Yeah. 1 minute.
I'm losing it this place.
You what? Oh, it's good. It's good. Just keep it going though. Have people move from 1 to 2, 2 to 3.
Yep.
You can announce it on the second.
I was gonna. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Does it work? Oh, it does work. All right, time to move to the next station.
Really?
So 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 3, 3 goes to 4, 4 goes to 5,
That's
Vice
one.
versa.
That's 7.
Seven's over.
7's over in the key advisor. Yep. How are you guys doing? I'm living. I'm surviving. Do in fact go to 8.
Maybe more comfortable than
Seems to work pretty well. Do the notes. Note time. Go.
Something that would be cool that would like lock the kid in, or like almost something that would all like, so there's no
It is time to rotate. Move to the next station.
You can't make me.
You currently are doing exactly what I want you to do.
I just say replace benches with chairs. I love this. I'm feeling this crazy. Hey guys, just so you know, it's all the broadcasting.
I just pointed at it for you. I really told her I was like, I'm Michaela. And she was I didn't even see that.
So, wrap up your sketches and do your notes now. Yeah, you don't get a lot of time. You get like 1 minute. I told you guys.
You watch that. It's usually blurry though. Wait.
doing to the camera?
You want all of them? What station are you at? We're at station 8. Okay. Oh, so did you know this station is kind of cool, because hopefully these rooms will be taken out.
Yeah.
The front 2 store rooms, and it'll be pushed back. So TJ had a cool idea of like, maybe you could have a stage, or like, oh, I don't know.
We should have a stage. We're not.
Need it?
That sounds awesome. I think we should get one of those.
You should always sketch it in every station.
I hope you know that Miss R is watching.
She can't see you. Do it. Don't do it. Wow. Wait, I want to do it. You guys get chicken.
Move to the next station. 1. So Miss. Yep. You don't have to go in there. You can just stay on that side. There are windows.
Where are we supposed to go?
Hello. You are going over to Lucy Advisory. 6 goes to 7. You are welcome. Mm-hmm. Write your sticky notes. It's just not even. It wouldn't say set up. It wouldn't say set up. But it's yeah, I don't want to do it. It's not when I don't remember it half the time. No. We're gone. Yeah. It does get really loud. I'm sorry. Move to the next site. I can't remember my name. Station site, whatever. Potato, potato. They're technically sites. They're technically sites.
That's 7. Oh, that's 1. Huh?
We're at 6, so you're going to 7. Which is Luke Advisory. And then jump. Oh, okay.
Yeah, 8's over here, guys. Where are you going?
Why are you still on a gun?
Oh no, I need a new section where everyone you guys going all the way up.
Oh, you do. just rooting for that.
Yeah, you can pick it. 8 was kind of just a wild card.
I totally don't still have and marshmallows and chocolate.
Yeah, you have to get very liminal with it.
I made a drawing so like this, I'll give them
That's fine. If it takes longer too, it's alright. As long as they all get to me.
This, I think, did you guys
See, our room is like the same exact size.
Yep. So like if you're paying, these 2 rooms are gonna be gone. No. They'll be gone, and then the other 2 rooms, the rooms behind them will be connected. Yeah, it'll be a little bit bigger up front. Write your notes now. No cards. No sticky notes. Things would be fun.
like if this was moved back, and I was like, there is time. I wonder if there's one like
Put hot seat on the stage. We put hot seat. What if we put hot seat on the stage?
integrated. Do you think we need like curtains to make it?
We don't need that.
Move to your next station. I told you guys, you don't get a lot of time.
Okay.
So now you go to 1.
Great. Yeah, because you guys started the musical. Yeah, so you get 3.
Are you indigenous?
That's what you're supposed to be doing. Come on, be a good community member. Okay, so did you hear what this space was gonna happen? It's like these 2 front rooms that'll be like gone. So this will be that much bigger.
For the king, the gallows.
Not gallows, not gallows.
You want my fan? You want my fan?
I don't know.
I thought they used those. I think we should get a little plane. I thought they used it just for kids, and I'm like, no, just like old people. And throw tornadoes at them. And I was like, well, we're not going to
One of those things.
We don't know.
I think we should get a little decorated.
I think it keeps coming up in my advisory, they want a track, or like one of those rugs that has a track. And somebody was like, wait, I don't know.
We should find something.
Get out of control if they were just out on the top.
I don't know that I would. I was like, you were gonna make this thing that.
Yeah, I was in the mood. I didn't like anything. I have those very few. Maybe I should get a press on this.
And then because like, adopt a window.
Like on our break.
like put BMF.
Yeah, I was thinking this too, so I don't move. That's why I thought you would have
No, I thought it was.
No, I was so excited.
David and the
Just give you a square and this is it.
Everybody was saying how it's just like you.
Move to the next
Very
station.
professional, but like you added like your style and humor and they were just really
7 is in the corner. It's the most asked question I had.
I know it's a bit awkward.
Alright folks, where are you going?
Nowhere. Why not? Because we're not the only people that are sitting down and you're targeting us for no reason. Yes. Now she's targeting other people.
Huh? I don't have to go back.
No, I'm just gonna keep painting until like it's something. No, I'll take you.
Write your sticky notes.
I think it's fun. Yeah.
Where you guys going?
Supervisory next.
Hi, Roger.
Count your freaking days, Isaac. Isaac, is this thing live? And like, is everyone gonna see it in the future?
Yeah. Don't miss hard watching.
I would never have some.
Even at your lowest, you're still a family guy. That's a farm.
Concerning Cameron.
If you see me at a Quahog, say hi. If you need to get the clams, let's talk to the guy.
In my pocket.
Move to your final station.
Come on, chat.
Move to your final station.
I'm on fence. I'm on Nigeria.
Yes.
I don't think that. I don't think we.
Okay, so here's my take.
Oh my God.
Wait, hold on. And it's exactly.
Maybe have an entrance in the back, benches out, and then an entrance, and then benches to the next pillar, and then benches from that pillar to that pillar.
With all the pillars.
have it like, you know, all like from far away, but
Yeah.
like the beach stylish, but we don't know which one, and everyone has to continuously repeat the test, or is everyone not gonna forget? No.
Write your sticky notes. Write your final sticky notes. Sticky note. The final one.
Hell no. I don't like your little area.
Something for every single cooking.
Yeah, I can figure it out.
Maybe not.
Oh, have it back. Then have it back.
All right, time to return back to the center, please.
Right here.
And make sure you give me your drawings, please.
Did you number them?
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna be my life.
I'll help you.
Okay.
No. Freaking fighting.
Super zipper.
I'll be right back. Oh, I just can't do that. It was real.
We have a kid. Yeah. You got everyone? All right. So, the whole purpose of this activity was not only just to get you guys to get a feel for what it's like to be an architect, but also to give me and the future school more input for what you guys want. And that's kind of the whole point of this project. This whole point of the project was to make people understand how important community is to architecture and how important architecture is to community. Now, one of the things that I researched that is probably one of the biggest examples of how important this is gentrification. Now, gentrification is kind of complicated, but also not. The process of whereby the character of a poorer urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing, and attracting new business, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. With that definition, it's kind of easy to see how fine of a line gentrification is. It's hard to not improve a part of a city without gentrifying that part. But that doesn't mean there isn't other ways of doing that. Now, gentrification is, in fact, a very big part of our history, especially as Americans, and one of the biggest examples of that is the Highway Act of 1956. Basically, the Highway Act of 1956 allowed for the states and cities to have better channels of and better plan out interstates and highways. It also gave proper funding, and this was pretty much one of the biggest projects in American history for infrastructure. Now, when you search this up, it will mostly tell you all of those facts. But what isn't easily found is what this affected. See, in the process of making this highway system, it displaced millions of people and close to 475,000 households. That is a huge number, even by 1956. One of the neighborhoods that got affected by this was a neighborhood called Black Bottom in Detroit. This is what it used to look like before the Highway Act was enacted, and this is what it currently looks like. If you look closely, you can see how few cars there are. There are tons of highways like this across the states. There are highways that were just made to displace people and get rid of culture and families that just had a different culture or different color. But that isn't to say that people aren't trying to fix this grievance. There are plans to renovate this highway to make it a boulevard, which is what most of these highways are becoming. Boulevards, parks, new spaces for infrastructure, all that. But there are other ways. Take Kensington Market, Kensington, anyway, in Ontario. This neighborhood is a just melting pot of different cultures. It was originally settled by Jewish people, and from there, several other people from different parts of the world came and decided to live here too. And it's really cool. It's a really beautiful part of Ontario. But with it being the way it is, has attracted tourists, and the city did not ignore this. And there have been several plans for destroying or renovating parts of this neighborhood to make way for new housing or new attractions, whatever. Part of that was planning on putting a new Walmart. But the way that Kensington is fighting this is by creating a group called a Community Land Trust. Basically, it's a nonprofit organization that buys the land, and it is controlled by a committee, usually by members of people who live on the land, sometimes outside. And the board is usually made up of 3 members that live on the land, 3 members that live around the land, and usually 3 government officials. This system has allowed Kensington and other similar places around the world to fight development and rising prices for housing and all that, and gentrification. But of course, one of the biggest ways to fight it is by advocating and using your voice. If people just go out and educate people about this issue, then there's a better chance that we can avoid it. Of course, we won't be able to avoid it all the time, as it is a very fine line, but if we can limit the severity of it at the very least, then hopefully we will have better cities and better communities. Now, for my project process, unlike everyone else, I haven't been using OneNote. I've been using note apps on my tablet, which was kind of hard to do at the beginning of the year, but the reason I did this was because I like writing my notes, but I don't like using note cards. So, kind of the best secondary alternative use. I talked about the product or production phase a little bit already, but it was not easy, especially when you're working on something that probably won't be accomplished for years, but here we are. Once I graduate here, I plan on going to Fox Valley Tech School to get a degree in interior design. And once I get that, I will then transfer to UW-Milwaukee, where I will finish and get my architecture degree. Thank you to all my live sources, advisors, Miss R, of course, current and past students, my friends, and my family. Questions? Let me drink my water first. Okay. Yes.
Favorite part of your project?
The question was favorite part of my project. I would say, honestly, being able to just kind of like go ham and just think of different ideas and just come up with different